everyone. Again, this is Nisha. I'm your geek mom, Nisha T. Molchan, CEO here at Diversely Geek, and the newly launched, as of today, the Diversely Me Foundation. And we wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of learn a little bit about what we do per se. We do have panel 9, which is asking us what we do about our services and how the foundation is going to be helping the world as we move forward. Today, what's happening is we have the wonderful um, Molly B. Marcus with me, who is helping us create our journaling program, which is part of our workshop series that'll launch on Eventbrite in the next month. And also, after the 7 years of research that my co-researcher and co-writer Jonathan Panarello and I have done, we created a master plan for achieving healthy living or to take over the world, whichever comes first. That's actually the name of the book. After Pinky and the Brain. It's actually embracing your self-care journey through fandom. And it is an entire book where we walk you through from the top to the bottom, the reflection, the process for self-reflection towards achieving self-awareness. And as Sharon can share, we followed the Abraham Maslow 11 stages of self-actualization theory is actually what we found extremely effective to be able to walk a person through the stages and phases for self-reflection to be able to create a plan that actually makes sense for you and that you connect to. So it's a ton of words that I'm saying, and in a sense, it's hard for you to understand it till you physically see it. So we created a series of prompts today that Molly and I are going to walk you through. And technically, Sharon's never seen it. I never let her see it on purpose. I wanted Sharon to, even though she's our collaborator, I wanted her to experience it firsthand, new. So Sharon is actually our audience today. Wait. So let's get to it. And I want the fans out in the world, if you have questions, please, put them on in here. Excuse me. And hopefully we'll be able to answer as we go along. Okay. So, Malls, do you want to go ahead and bring up page 1?
Sure.
It should be an overlay, I think. So what we're going to do today is share with you that's actually not page 1.
Oh.
So page 1 is our affirmation.
Oh, okay.
All right. So to be able to work towards achieving a healthy, self-committed dynamic for self-care, it's extremely important for us to understand what it means to even self-reflect in the first place. And I mean, I don't assume that people understand. So what thank you so much. I know that that's really hard to see. So we're going to try our best to help you see it with this. So go to the next one, because the self-reflection one is the one we're going to work on.
Is that the one, Ron? Let's see. I can't really see.
That's it. You got it. So I have it open in front of me, and we're going to go ahead and explain it. So we're kind of working backwards today, so bear with me. The first one asks a couple of really important questions, okay? And tap in, both of you, as we move along. And Molly, anything that you know why we created this, right? So we originally created 10 sheets based on the 11 stages of physical, mental, and social health, and dichotomous health for emotional and psychosocial health, and then also just for physical well-being, which is a little outside of the normal box for the self-care plan. Because when we talked about it amongst ourselves, we were like, well, what parts of myself do I need to work on healing or connecting to so I can then actively participate in something that will heal my physical self? And we figured out that we kind of actually have to go through these stages of understanding and unboxing who we are as human beings. And that's how we ended up coming up with the worksheet that you see here today. So it's called What It Means to Engage in My Self-Care Journey and Why It's Important. So, Malls, if you want to read, that would be cool. If you can, if not, I got it.
Nope, I can't see it, but go ahead.
I know it's so teeny. So basically, we labeled it how my fandom passions and healing hobbies support my self-care path. A lot of people wanted to understand what that meant, a fandom passion and a healing hobby. So we're going to probably answer that in a few minutes. Okay. So developing an active routine for honest self-care evaluation and identifying your deficits and needs. So the deficits and cares and needs that you taking care of yourself. Then transferring that data to your own self-care plan helps us to organically address the components of healthy living. So by understanding the things that a self-evaluation of our health, mental wellness, and our emotional health, we can create and identify those things that we're missing. Sometimes we can't, and that's okay, because if the first time around, the second or even fourth time, you still haven't figured them all out, that's cool, right, Molly?
Yep, it certainly is, because it really gives you an opportunity to be introspective and to really start to dig into your own journey, which can seem intimidating at first, but these worksheets will help to limit that intimidation factor.
And we created the worksheets so they're kind of like, in a sense, allow us to start over.
Which
Absolutely.
is a key part of Maslow's perspective. It's that idea of experiencing life as a child, and where we have full absorption, concentration, and again, trying new things. So this creates that safe space to go down some of those key fundamental behaviors of self-actualization.
Absolutely, with no expectation, right?
Correct.
That's very cool. And that gives people that opportunity to check. Like I appreciate the straightforwardness of this. This gives people a very fun, these are boxes that are easy to check off or say, and again, easy to start the reflection process to get you going, because there can be that intimidating thing about, oh my gosh, I'm starting on this new journey. Where do I go?
Where do I go? And it's so big. So we wouldn't
exactly. So you need to start where you're at.
That's right. So there is no one answer. This is the most critical of things for us to understand. There is no one answer on how to recognize what I call the cogs, the wheels, and pieces of our living puzzle. We are beautiful, complex beings. So it would be beneficial to find a method to self-analyze, self-review, and evaluate what our basic short and long-term needs are. Specific to you. You cannot have someone else teach you that. They can't answer this for you. You have to find it, because it's your lived experience. Okay. So if someone else gives you ideas and suggestions, cool, write them down, but understand you still have to live in your wheelhouse. It's your cogs, it's your wheels, and it's the pieces of your living puzzle.
Yeah. And if I can interject, one of the things that we have on this sheet, I want to hone in on the word honest self-care. Oftentimes we're like, oh, we're okay, I'm okay, but really be honest with yourself, and give yourself that love and attention to really dig in. And I think that's super important.
I know it's hard to see it. I wish we could actually make this an overlay so that you could have a little more perspective, but hey, don't worry about it. These are going to be available for you to gander at later on. So the first thing we're doing is an understanding my empowerment and how to find that path. So the absolute first phase is not about finding the problems, my friends. It's about understanding my empowerment and how that helps me to find my empowered path. Always remember, deal in the positives of yourself, not the negatives. Okay, so you guys know me. So let's start at the very beginning and engage in introspective self-evaluation. Introspective just means looking inside of yourself, like going, hey, who am I, And so we can better understand why it's a necessary first step for self-care planning. So when we look at introspection, do you agree with us, Sharon, that it's that the very first steps that we should take in self-care planning are looking at the things that we're going into now?
You need to know where, and that's what I like, is it gives you that place where you're starting at where you're at. And it's starting by getting people to basically catalog an assets list.
That's it.
And all of their strengths. So start with your strengths, start with the places where you've got things. And maybe, in that you might identify some gaps. in terms of, oh, you know what, I hadn't thought about what it is that I do in this area. Okay, so again, you're identifying gaps and places that you've got room for growth. They're not negatives. It's the here's my assets checklist. So I really like how that list breaks it down, because so much of, again, when you think about the characteristics of self-actualizers, that's about your ability to perceive reality efficiently, again, tolerate uncertainty, but accept yourself and others for who you are, and to be, you know, to look at life objectively. So this gives that first safe place to start exploring that, but without all the heady, you know, like, again, all those big words. It's taking all of that and just breaking it down into bite-sized safe chunks.
That's it. The number one thing I had to teach when I started writing the perspective, even when John, as we were creating it, was we had learned, even as mental health providers and healthcare providers, we somehow had got boxed into always looking at the problem first, the deficit first. And we have to unlearn that language. And you know dang well, my goal is to get this into primary care, right? So people can undo this learned negative behavior.
But that's the thing with so much primary care is it's the what's the problem. So, you know, it's looking for the pathology, the diagnosis, and then the solution. That whether it's, you know, pharmaceutical, whether it's clinical and supportive, you know, so it's always that, you know, here's the problem, here's how I fix it. And then a lot of times what we don't take into consideration, and this is where I see the value of this in clinical care, is the idea of who's it coming to me, what's more holistic, what are the assets, and then, by the way, what's the presenting problem, because maybe they already have things in their toolkit that they don't realize are there that they could be utilizing. So it does give that format. That's really, it's exciting that you're sharing this with me now.
Well, I think that's also a perfect.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm going to go quickly through the rest of this page so we can move to the next one.
Sure.
To the affirmation page, and then we can keep the chat going if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So I wrote here, when my life story can't be told by anyone else. Okay. So, it's why my life story. I'm sorry, guys. I need my other glasses. I got the wrong ones on today. Why my life story cannot be told by anyone else, and how can I tell it in my own unique way? So basically, we're saying, what would you include in this story, or how would you like it to be seen or heard? So it's always about the story being yours and not about someone else telling you or telling you how to direct your narrative. So the next one is, what are my self-care needs, and how can I inspire myself to achieve them, recognizing that I am deserving of achieving and to have my needs met? Huge prompt right there, guys.
And those two connect, because sometimes we have had people influence our story where we start telling a story that says we are not deserving of certain things. And so our story includes, and again, whether that's, you know, behaviors associated with trauma or anxiety, depression, things that other voices and other perspectives come in and they change our narrative. So that's another part, is it gives that ability to, okay, this is about your story, but how you're reclaiming it and what tools you have to reclaim it.
So we're going to have to move through real quick. Go ahead and put up the self-care prompt.
Sure.
So this is an example of how you can take an achievable in your daily life. What are my self-care needs, and how can I inspire myself to achieve them? Recognizing. So you create what's called building blocks that are achievable. And a lot of people think that they're pretty big, but really they're not at all. They can be the teeniest things in the world, right, Molly?
Yep, 100%.
Just as simple as looking at is, how do I arrange my succulents today? And when I arrange those, what am I achieving? A sense of calm and growth.
Am I eating today?
As everyone has been trying to make me eat and drink on time today. Oh my goodness, I'm so bad.
But that's the thing, is that we can, for folks to recognize that a lot of times when they start to take on this and they want to do this work, they think that they're adding a whole litany of, oh my God, I'm adding to my to-do list. Whereas there's a recognition that a lot of stuff that we do in our daily life, we actually do for a purpose, or that it has more meaning than we realize. Like, so you talked about the arranging the succulents for common growth there. I find a certain amount of, like, for example, what I do to organize or tidy a space is because mess triggers my anxiety. So for me, actually, sometimes, to clean something up, to walk away from work and tidy a space, actually to take the 5 minutes to wash the dishes grounds me and allows me to move on with the rest of the day in a way that, going to get coffee 20 minutes later into a messy kitchen would stress me out, so that we can take a look at some of those things that we do and realize that on some level we're incorporating them into our self-care agenda. We just need to acknowledge it to see to add the extra value to it, I guess you'd say.
Okay, so we have our last few, literally 5 minutes, and we're going to go on to the next prompt. So what do you mean I have to find the courage to love and accept myself? So it's one of my favorites that we created. I make my own happiness. Hashtag self-care, people. Why are we doing this one, Molly?
Well, so often people do not. They will not allow themselves to accept themselves, to love themselves, to give them the opportunities to do so. So what this does is it really makes people think, okay, I'm struggling to accept myself because I love myself, because I'm resilient, because I can. And I think, Nisha, if you want to talk about the really importance of that language, I can, not how I can, but I can.
That's it. I can. That's exactly correct. So this is what we're always the constant focus is always, what can I achieve, not what can't I. We don't deal in can'ts here. That is not our language. It's not how we exist, nor does this book in any touch point ever direct anything in that way. It's always about your assets and growing those assets. Okay, so then the next one.
Okay.
Here's my favorite. And
the Wheel of Wellness.
Everybody loves this one, the Wheel of Wellness. So it's like the Wheel of Fortune. In the long run, it is the Wheel of Fortune. We spin in every day and every moment of our life. We don't quite know where we're falling on the spectrum and of the Wheel of Wellness. But the things that we do want to be able to incorporate are something like meditative practice, which is just silent sitting, taking a few moments and humming, singing a song in your mind, just sitting quietly and reflecting on looking out the window, which I'm doing as I talk to you, because looking at the lovely sky and the trees is a sense of meditation, even while I'm actively working. So find a form of meditation that works for you that's not harsh on the mind. Exercise the mind, exercise the body, many forms of exercise, and don't stress yourself until you're ready to get to a next phase in exercise. Me time.
Well, I have a question for you in terms of how this all comes together, because knowing that the work that's being done at Diversity Geek is about this idea of the improvement of positive self-identity, self-acceptance, and mental wellness. Talk about how this all comes together to positively transform how we see ourselves, how we interact, and again, those things that can improve self-identity and human relating.
So in terms of the Wheel of Wellness?
The Wheel of Wellness, yeah.
So let's just say that once we figure out our own, we've created ballast within ourselves. Like if we were on a ship and it was a rocking ship in the middle of a storm, how does the ship itself stop itself? How do you stop that ship from sinking or tipping over? You have to create what's called ballast in it, right? It means moving things around. So the Wheel of Wellness is a constant state of movement, is it not? You move things around on a daily basis to be able to find the balance you need today. Just because you found it yesterday and you related to it yesterday has nothing to do with today. It's cool and it's a great reference point, and remember it, because learned memory is everything, isn't it, Sharon? Because that's what neuroplasticity is. However, today you may need to ballast a little bit different and click to the right. So today, time for others may have been what was important for you. Go for a walk in the park with your family. How about having meaningful work? Oh my God. Today I realized that it was really important for me to write three more of the poems I need for the book that I'm working on, that's self-express. Oh, yeah. Wait. Y'all, I need 30 minutes of me time. Everybody need me. I'm just going to go. I'm going to walk. I'm going to self-reflect. And I might add some meditation in there. In the middle of all that is your relationships with the people around you. Because the more you find your balance and your ballast, the more you recognize how to create ballast, you will be more balanced and you'll relate to other people a lot lot more healthy, because you won't have anxiety. I have severe anxiety. I get panic. My family now, I know how to tell them, Yami, everybody knows this now. I'm like, nope, I'm in that place. Sharon, yeah, I'm in that place.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a ticking time bomb today. But you know what? I recognize it. Just breathe through it and help me find my balance. So I know to ask everyone to ask them to bring me back in. That's what works for me, right? Everybody has to find them themselves. And I have learned to ask.
Yeah, you have to. You have to ask.
So took me 1000% time to figure out how the hell to ask the question.
Yeah.
I love your calls because it helps me to help you.
Malls, man, my poor Malls. Malls, I need to talk for 10 minutes.
I do see an interesting question here from Nicole, that the idea about meditation being hard and silence is scary and that you color instead. And that's the other part, is that's a meditative act in and of itself. So some of us, especially those of us with PTSD, can often find silence a very difficult thing. So that's the other part, is to understand meditation. You know, there's often this misunderstanding that it's about sitting still and emptying your mind. And it's not about that. It's about, again, creating a relationship with yourself and places for self-soothing and self-care. So sometimes meditation can be active. It can be a walking meditation. It can be coloring. So that's the other place where fandom comes into play, because you know what? It can be just as meditative to put together a cosplay costume for one person as it is for someone else to meditate.
That's why we created these little prompts. So you'll find them scattered throughout the books. They're visual meditative practice. Just read it. Just breathing in, relaxing and healing by breathing in the message is sometimes enough. And it didn't take the color out of your world. It gave you back the color. So one of our workbooks that we're going to be creating, because we have to jump off soon, is actually with the help of Jyoti, communications director, is we're actually going to be creating a coloring book addendum that goes with our worksheets. Yeah, it's going to be an entire coloring book series based on fandoms. So there's going to be an MCU series, a DC series. So it's a whole lot of stuff that's coming up, so that people can connect to that fandom, but also have the meditative act of coloring. So yeah, that's going to be amazing. Yeah, boy, do I know that brain, Nicole.
Yes. Yeah.
So we actually, unfortunately, didn't even hit the self affirmations one. Just flow it really quick. I want you to understand that this affirmations page is where we actually showed you how to go ahead and drop in. Oops, that's the second part of the page. Don't know what happened to the other. Yeah. Nope, wrong one.
We had it there for a second.
That's okay. So the affirmations page, everything that I asked you to reflect on. So about physical wellness, positive affirmations, start your day with phrases that are empowering, non-judgmental, without pressure. Just be kind and hopeful. And it's okay to be humorous and have fun. Avoid any terms or phrases that highlight deterrence, guilt, or a loss of worth, my loves. And so you say, today I will catch all the Pokemon at Crane's Roost and earn those points. I love this about myself, my quirky sense of humor. I do, actually. I believe that I can achieve this. Global domination in the name of the work. It's the name of the workbook, after all. I can achieve global domination. Why not? I know I am good because I can join my friends for a 4-hour gaming session and raise funds through Extra Life. Extra Life raises funds for Children's Miracle Network. Yeah. I will complete a virtual 5K. I am an imperfect being, and that's okay, because you remember Vincent van Gogh created beautiful masterpieces while battling manic depression?
Sure
I
did.
acknowledge I make mistakes. It's your favorite, Molly. Say it.
I can't see it. I don't know.
Hermione Granger says.
Oh, it's Leviosa, the Leviosa.
Yes.
And then I have moved forward in my self-worth journey. The 11th Doctor's story brought us River Song, whose journey takes her from loss and guilt to understanding her role in effecting a necessary change that saves the universe. She learns to accept her worth. And that is it, my loves. We have to bounce because we have another session in 3 minutes. I love all of you, and I will see you in the next panel. Thank you all so much for helping me to show everybody a little bit of how this works. Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye.